Okay, we're going to have some fun with that Jesus test that I took. And it starts off, nobody can score at least 10 to 15 in this Jesus test. Let's play. Now, I got to give everybody a spoiler alert. If you have not taken this test, take the test first before you watch this video, because I'm going to be giving you the answers to all the questions and how I knew those were the answers, okay? And there are only 15 questions in the test that I took, not 16, I counted. So whoever says they took a test with 16 questions didn't take the test I took, or they're just lying. Okay, so here was the first question. First, when was Jesus born? Well, I just happen to know because I, listened to Dr. Andy Woods, and I listen to a lot of preachers that are graduates of Dallas Theological Seminary, that a lot of them say the calendar is about 3 or 4 years inaccurate, the calendar we have right now. So they said he was actually born probably several years before zero, the date of zero. So I knew it wasn't 3 to 6 AD by a process of elimination, because they said the calendars probably, the actual dates from when Jesus appeared was probably a couple years earlier. So I knew it was 3 to 6 BC. And, just by process of elimination, I got this one right. But I had no doubt that I was right about it. The only other correct answer would have been if the calendar was correct, which means he would have been born on 0 AD, which I knew wasn't correct because calendar's a couple years off. And I knew that they all said that Jesus was probably, born a couple. I heard several Bible scholars say he was probably born about 3 BC, 4 BC, somewhere around there. Actually, nobody knows for sure exactly how many years off the calendar is. That's why they had to give an estimate here. So that's how I knew the answer to this question. Okay, Jesus was born in, they said is, but then in, well, the Bible says he was born in Bethlehem. So this was not that hard a question. So I knew it was Bethlehem. He wasn't born in Jerusalem. It would either be Bethlehem or Nazareth, but Nazareth is where he grew up. He was born in Bethlehem because that's where the star appeared. So this one was pretty easy. Where was he baptized? The Jordan River, because that's where John the Baptist was. And John the Baptist is the one who baptized Jesus. The Nile River? No way. He wasn't in Egypt. The Red Sea? No. No. The Dead Sea? Now, the next choice that somebody might have, but he wasn't in the Dead Sea. It was the Jordan River. It was where John the Baptist was. And the Bible says over and over that John the Baptist baptized in the Jordan River. Okay, so that one was pretty easy. At what age did Jesus begin his ministry? Oh, obviously 30. Everybody knows he didn't make it to age 45. And at age 12 and 18, he was still living with his parents, and he didn't start his ministry, the Bible says, until 30. This one was pretty easy. What was Jesus's occupation before entering public ministry? Carpenter. He wasn't a shepherd. There were shepherds in the field when he was born, so if you're a Bible blockhead, you might think that, but no, he was a carpenter. Everybody knows that. Even Josh McDowell wrote a book called Jesus the Carpenter, so carpenter. And when my men went to heaven after my when my stepdad was dying, when Jesus took them to heaven, Jesus said he was using his skills that he learned on earth as a carpenter to build the house for my stepdad, Bill Fuller, who died in 2014. So this one was really easy for me. In Bible for Tribulation Saints, Jesus was talking to my men in heaven. Jesus actually let my men, Brent Spiner, Matthew McConaughey, Gerard Butler, Terrence Jenkins, Hugh Jackman, Keanu Reeves, go to heaven and build a home to welcome my stepdad, Bill Fuller, into heaven. And he was talking, and they let me know a little bit about his conversation with them when he was up there. And he said, well, I'm using my skills on earth when I was a carpenter to help me build this house for Gail's stepdad, who passed away in 2014. He's got this huge mansion up there in heaven, which was personally built for him in advance. My men knew in advance that Bill would die, and they built the home in heaven. And Jesus was telling them that he used his skills that he learned as a carpenter to help build that house. So this one was real easy for me for several reasons. How many disciples did Jesus have? 12. This is piece of cake. Some might say 11 because Judas Iscariot betrayed him. Yeah, but Judas might have betrayed him, but he was still a disciple. He was just a bad disciple, so he had 12. Okay, this one here. Which of the following was not one of the apostles? This is easy. We know Peter was an apostle. Then there was Judas Iscariot, and there was another, and then we had James. Isaac, there was no disciple or apostle named Isaac. This one was easy for me. Now there was, if you go back to the patriarchs, there was an Isaac, but that was long before Jesus came on the scene as a man and as a carpenter. BC, this is probably the easiest question in the whole test, stands for before Christ. That is true. Okay. Jesus was trialed and sentenced. Now this is kind of tricky. Trialed and sentenced by the Romans. The Romans. I'm going to elaborate on this more as we get further on and show you how I know. It was the Romans. Some might say the Jews. Well, the Jews says, the Jews wanted him crucified, the Jewish leaders, but they couldn't do it according to their law. So they had to use the Romans. So yes, it was the Romans. I'll be explaining this more later. In what year was Jesus crucified? Like I said, the calendar's a couple years off. So if the calendar was accurate, it would be 33 AD. It's obviously none of these other choices, process of elimination, but the calendar being inaccurate, it could be anywhere between 30 to 36 AD. Yeah. So that would be the correct answer. All of the this one's kind of easy. All of the others are obviously wrong. Jesus walked on what body of water? Sea of Galilee. The Aegean Sea. I think that's in Greece. He wasn't in Greece doing a bunch of miracles. He pretty much limited. Once he started doing his miracles, he pretty much stayed within Israel. So, and the reason for that is he was trying to win the Jews. He was trying to win the Jews first. He was offering them the kingdom, but they rejected the kingdom. That's why the kingdom is going to be future. It's the future 1,000-year reign. But he was offering the Jews the kingdom, so he confined his miracles. The miracles were designed. The Bible says Greeks seek a sign, and Jews require a sign. And so he confined his miracles to Israel. That would be Sea of Galilee. There is no Aegean Sea in Israel. Okay. Which site is venerated as the place where Jesus was crucified and buried? Well, it certainly wasn't Paris. It certainly wasn't Vatican City. And Bethlehem was where he was born. So it was the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, Jerusalem. Yeah, that's the place. That's the only answer it could be. The Church of the Holy, and plus the sepulchre is a place where they store dead bodies. So yeah, okay. What are the main sources for the biography of Jesus? Well, it's not Deuteronomy. That's like all about the Jewish law. That was Moses. The epistle to the Romans, Apostle Paul talking to the Christian church. But when the Christian church was established, Jesus was up in heaven near the Father. So that wouldn't be Genesis, the book of about creation. Moses wrote Genesis. Obviously, the 4 canonical Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's it. Yeah. Those are the main sources for the biography of Jesus. Okay. Jesus's prediction that one of his apostles will betray him was correct. Of course it was correct. Anybody knows this. You can be a dingbat and get this one right. Judas Iscariot. Yeah, correct. What was the first miracle Jesus performed in his ministry? This one might be tricky for some people. For me, it was easy because I watched that movie, The Gospel of John, and they stated right out that this was the first miracle that Jesus performed. At the wedding at Cana of Galilee, he turned the water into wine. They were worried because they said, he's running out of wine. And Jesus said, no problem. And he just turned the water into wine. And then they complimented the person who hosted the, I guess you might call it like the celebration, and said, wow, usually people, serve the best wine first, but you saved the best for last. So that was water to wine. Yeah. And then the Gospel of John movie said, and this was the first miracle that Jesus performed in his ministry. So, yeah, public miracle. All right, next one. So I got them all right. Now let's kind of explain all this. Somebody at my comment says, Lori McBride scored 16. Really? Which test did she take? It wasn't the one I took. There were only 15 questions. Oh, maybe she created a copy of the test, so she knew all the answers and she added a new question, or this Kelly Andrews is just out and out lying. But regardless, this in no way negates my perfect score, since I wasn't even guessing on any of the answers and I knew for sure that I got everything right. All right. The test, to be honest with you, wasn't that hard. I think any Christian who, there were a couple of trick questions in there, but anybody like me who loves to listen to preachers that graduated from Dallas Theological Seminary would have no problem getting all those right. In fact, I think every member of Dr. Andy Wood's church in Sugar Land, Texas would have got a 15 because he's such a good Bible teacher. All right, and he's one of my favorite Bible teachers. Okay, let's go on. Here's this commentator. I see you missed the bonus question. I got 15-15 plus 1. And I said, a perfect score is a perfect score. There was no bonus question unless you took a different test. And then he said, well, the one I took did. It was about Matthew 24:36. Duh, there was nothing in there about Matthew 24:36. Yeah. And like I said, I didn't, somebody might say, wow, what you did is you took the test several times and then that's how you knew all the answers, because like you're doing now, you looked up on, no. When I took the test, I had never taken it before. The first time I took it, and you can run a lie detection scan on me right now, you guys, my men can verify that if they're using this in court. I just took it the first time, never saw those questions before, got them all right. But then, like I said, the test wasn't that hard. But for Bible blockheads or people that don't give a flip about Jesus, which unfortunately is rather common nowadays, that might explain why somebody like me got them all right. There were a couple of trick questions in there, but I didn't have to guess on any of the questions. I knew for sure I got them all right. Okay. Here's the one. Here's the Bible verse. About how I knew that Isaac was the one who was not an apostle. Judas was one of the answers, and people that aren't up on all the apostles and that don't know Acts 1:13 might think that because Judas killed himself that he was not one of the apostles, but there was an apostle called, here we are in Acts 1:13, Judas, son of James, was one of the apostles. There was another apostle named Judas, and he's mentioned in Acts 1:13. So when they said Judas, so I knew Isaac was the answer because Judas was one of the choices. Judas Iscariot was not an apostle, but Judas, son of James, was. Okay, so let's move on. Now this guy claimed, this is Matthew 24:36. This was not in the test, folks. I don't recall any question about this verse, but about that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. But I guarantee you, if that question was in there, I probably would have got it right, because I listen to Dr. Andy Woods all the time, and he is a Bible prophecy expert. And if that question was in there, I probably would have got it right. Because I'm just as fascinated with the future Jesus as I am the past Jesus. And I'm just fascinated by the fact that during the millennial reign, he's going to be reigning on the throne, ruling with a rod of iron. He has to rule with a rod of iron, because if he allows the evil people to get away with murder, then the millennium isn't going to be that hot. It's going to have a lot of problems, just like our present earth has problems, because we've got evil people like Lori McBride running the internet, running politics. You got to get rid of these folks if you want to have a peaceful, happy earth. As long as people like that are alive, they will cause problems and the earth will not be at peace. So when Jesus rules with a rod of iron, it means he's going to be executing a lot of people. That's the only way. And the millennium is famous for having no wars. You're never going to have a world with no wars until Jesus is ruling from the throne and he executes people like Laurie McBride. Because as long as people like that are alive, they will cause wars. Okay, so let's move on. Anyways, there was no question related to this. This guy who said that that's the question he answered is full of baloney. Okay, now here is the reason that I know that Rome crucified Jesus and not the Jews. The Jews wanted to kill Jesus, but this is what then the Jewish leaders took Jesus from Caiaphas, and he said, what charge? Pilate said to these Jewish people, I don't want to do this. This is your own. I don't want to meddle in Jewish affairs, man. What charges are you bringing against this man? And they said, if he were not a criminal, we would not have handed him over to you. Yeah, they were just like Laurie McBride, Laurie McBride and her Jew clones. They're all just like these Pharisees and Sadducees that wanted to kill Jesus. And then Pilate, who was a Roman government leader installed over the Jewish nation, said, take him yourselves and judge him by your own law. And then they said, but we can't execute people under Jewish law. So they said, you got to do it. So that's how we know Rome did it. So you might say, well, then it's not the Jews' fault that Jesus died on the cross. Well, Rome wouldn't have tried Jesus if the Jews didn't bring him and start accusing him of all sorts of stuff. So I guess Rome did it trying to keep peace in the area, but yes, Rome is the one who actually carried. And also the form of death, crucifixion, that was a Roman form of execution. The Jews didn't execute people that way. That was Rome. So that one was easy for me. For some people, maybe not. Okay, this is the verse. Okay, the one about the Romans executing Jesus, that was John 18:31. And then John 2:11 says, what Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory and his disciples believed in him. Okay, what John 2:11 is saying, when Jesus did his first miracle at the wedding at Cana of Galilee, turning the water to wine, that was his first public miracle, or his first miracle. So yeah, so that's how I knew that one. The test really wasn't that hard, but it just goes to show that I have a very thorough knowledge about Jesus because I got a perfect score. There were about 3 questions that were kind of tricky, but like I said, anybody who listens to Dr. Andy Woods like I do would have easily got a 15 on that test. I tend to like to listen to preachers that give me really deep Bible study, and I'm especially fascinated with Jesus. So yeah, so anyways, Jesus is super cool. And if you want to get the latest about him, you need to get my Bible for Tribulation Saints. It has been updated. Jesus has given us more advice lately. And as you can see, I'm not a blockhead about Jesus. I'm not this crazy lady who doesn't know my Bible. Hey, you know what? Jesus, if that wasn't the real Jesus who's been talking to us, if that wasn't the real Jesus, he couldn't have, he couldn't have, I wouldn't have been fooled by him. Like if he was a fake, if my men were just trolls and they were making all this stuff up about Jesus, he's the real Jesus, because I know my Bible well, and I know what the Bible says about Jesus, and nothing this Jesus who's appeared to my husband Brent Spiner contradicts anything in the biblical account about him. He is, and he's everything that he says illuminates the Bible and makes it more. He's actually giving us more information about his future millennial reign and what's going to be happening in the tribulation in Bible for Tribulation Saints. So Bible for Tribulation Saints, I know some people say the canon is closed, and that could very well be. But my Bible for Tribulation Saints, if it's not in addition to the canon, it definitely is Jesus's exact words to us. He has more things to say to us for those of us right now alive in pre-tribulation earth. We're about to go into the tribulation. It's going to probably be within the next 50 years. Okay? And then the millennial reign is the 1,000-year reign after the 7-year tribulation, and that's going to be pretty soon too. And I believe that I and my men, after we defeat the Jesuits, we will be, God's going to use us to rule over the earth in a type of the millennial reign. It won't be the millennial reign, but it'll be a type of the millennial reign, like ruling with a rod of iron, taking out the Lori McBride Jesuits. That's probably something that we're going to have to do in order to have peace on earth. So what's probably going to happen, and I'm guessing on this, is that Jesus did promise that I and my men would defeat the Jesuits. The only way we're going to be able to do that is we have to take them out. Either we got to take them out or Jesus has got to take them out, because they will not. That's the only way to defeat these people. They have no intention of giving up their ambitions for world rule, and they're killers, sociopaths, psychopaths. They have to be taken out. It's the only way we'll have peace, and that's the only way Brent and I could get married. So apparently that's going to happen. And then they need to be continually taken out, just like it looks like Brent and I are going to be ruling with a rod of iron, just like Jesus is going to be ruling in a rod of iron. And there's going to be probably a type of the millennial reign that's going to happen right before the rapture. That's my guess. And then the rapture is going to happen. I'm guessing on this because Jesus hasn't been definitive about this, but I'm guessing the rapture is going to happen. Then me and my men are going to go out, and then sometime after the rapture, the 7-year tribulation will happen. And then at the very end of the 7-year tribulation, the nation of Israel will accept Jesus as their Messiah, and then we'll start the 1,000-year reign. If you want to know a really good Bible prophecy teacher is Dr. Andy Woods. I've scoured the internet far and wide, and I think he is the best Bible prophecy teacher out there. I don't agree with him on everything, but he's the best. Another really good source to get a little information about the future is My Bible for Tribulation Saints, with exact words from Jesus in there about what's going to happen in the tribulation, the millennium, and how we need to conduct ourselves right now in pre-tribulation earth, which is where we're at right now. We're in the church age, at the very end of the church age, right before the rapture. And I would call it pre-tribulation earth, because we're right on the cusp of the 7-year tribulation. And if you want to know how to live right now to please Jesus, you need to read My Bible for Tribulation Saints.